over the minutes, please, from the last meeting, and are there any changes or errors there? Aaron, you're muted if you're talking. I saw your lips moving. No, okay.
I forget. I just had a question. So it was under, in the minutes, under financial statements, statement number 7. So 1.7, marina revenue will not post in May. I don't even remember what that was about. So we're not going to post. When are we, is it because we extended the deadline?
I think that's a mistake on my part.
Okay. It generally doesn't get posted into May because the revenue doesn't come in until April.
I think
Good.
So
Do we understand that?
I didn't
I didn't.
get any of that from Jamie, but what I do, Joel can chime in. Generally, the revenue for the marina doesn't start coming in until now. It won't get posted until May.
right. So I'm wondering, should that say the revenue will not post until May? It says it will not post in May. So it should say until May.
Should be
Okay.
until.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's the only thing I had.
Yeah, one word change then. Okay, anything else? Okay, then is there a,
Actually,
Motion to-
you guys were talking about the marina
Yeah.
yes,
income. Yeah, so
I'm hearing something noises in somebody's background.
Might be Jamie trying to call in.
I think it's
Jamie.
maybe Jamie has a bad signal.
Yeah.
I believe that's what's going on here. I'm trying to check in with her.
Okay.
But I can tell you in terms of like with the marina income for all this wet slip, wet dry combo income stuff. So it's like, so it gets posted in the general ledger, but our policy is to record everything as bad debt expense, anything that's over 30 days. So typically what you'll see, which historically is what happens in February, then it gets wiped out, so to speak, with bad debt expense. But then as people start paying this stuff, then it will reverse that out.
I tried.
Okay. So you record the revenue because we have technically earned it whenever the bills are due, when they're supposed to sign up. But then as they pay, we reverse out bad debt expense into whatever else.
Yeah. So from talking to Gil with this, apparently they have like into April, I guess, even to actually pay these things, but it gets charged before that. But then anything that's sitting on the books for more than 30 days will naturally get reversed out as bad debt expense from our accounting record standpoint. So as people pay these things, then that bad debt expense will then in turn become reversed out as well. So then basically, long story short, the income gets recorded as they start paying it.
Okay. And in May, we expect most of that to happen in May.
Oh, or even as these people pay along, it will just automatically start reversing out all that bad debt expense on whenever they do it, whether it's April or May.
Okay, I'm getting a little bit of an echo from Joel. Okay. Trang Warline, you have joined us.
Yeah, sorry, just running in, was getting groceries and got a little stuck in traffic. So hopefully I didn't miss too much.
No, we're just starting. We're just reviewing the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, I
There's
have
a
a
question.
printout so I can go along.
Okay. Okay. So basically, we want to just change that line to say marina revenue will post in May. Is that accurate? What's
Marina
accurate?
revenue, technically marina revenue has already been posted. However, the bad debt expense has already been posted too, since this is running over 30 days. But as people begin to pay these, since they actually have into April to pay this stuff, then long story short, yes, you're right. Meaning as soon as they pay it, it will reverse out the bad debt expense and post as revenue.
So would it be more accurate to say then marina revenue?
Yeah, it'd be accurate to say marina revenue will be posted as they pay it. You could
As
say
it
that.
will be posted as is paid. Okay, okay. We make that one change.
I can do that.
Anything else?
Recognize as they pay.
Yeah, will be recognized as they pay.
Okay.
Recognize.
Okay, if there's nothing else then, all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Or just raise your hand. Okay, okay, that's, we'll do that. Thank you. And then going on to continuing business, the selection of the 2019 auditor. I did send out to you, first of all, the description of the people that we had contacted. There were 7 different auditing firms that we contacted. As I said, there were 2 of them who did not respond at all. 3 of them declined, and 2 of them said they would send a quote. Now, we actually only received one from Clifton Larson Allen, in addition to the full quote from Larson Gross, who has been our auditor in the past. There was some concern with Larson Gross's original submission that it was only an update for this year, and that it wasn't responsive to the full RFQ requirements, request for proposal requirements that were sent out. But I think that what we have in our hands now are 2 very responsive bids. And would anybody like to make some comments about the 2 different bids? Are they responsive? What's your opinion?
Actually, Leslie, can I say something real fast?
Yeah.
So in terms of like the responsiveness of these 2 bids, these are both basically, if you look at the bids, is equally responsive in terms of what they responded to. So they're almost literally on equal footing in terms of a responsive category if you were to go down and do a checklist from the RFQ.
Okay. So then looking at each one of them, give me your opinions. What do you think of these bids?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is the November bid from that same company, I can't recall the name now, and the January bid like different? Was there a change in what we
Oh,
requested?
the Larson Gross one?
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
like,
The one that came from Larson Gross originally was just because they had been our auditor for so many years, they assumed that we knew all of the information that was required in the request for proposal. And so they just did a 1-year proposal. And there was a concern from one of the directors that it didn't answer everything that our request for proposal had asked for. And they wanted the full proposal. So they basically just went back and gave us the one that they had done last year, which gave all of the information that we had asked for.
okay.
And Leslie, by the way, that January 6th letter from Larson Gross also
Yeah.
updates it to include a proposal for all 3 years, 2019 through 2021.
Because the one I saw, at least I briefly looked at it, the one when they first sent out, it was for all 3 years. And then like, I guess the late one, the one in January was all for all 3 years, but it was more. So
Yeah.
I was wondering if we had asked them to do more than what they originally quoted.
No, I think the one that you're looking at is for previous years. It was
That's
the
right.
RFQ that they were responding to
Okay.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't
So
have it in front of me, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so the January 6th letter, all of the other information is correct, except for the January 6th letter updates the price.
Okay.
And they gave a 1-year quote and then a 3-year quote. And we get a discount if we sign a contract for all 3 years.
Okay.
And basically what that January 6th letter says, like up at the top to it, references that November 2018 quote. So it's basically saying this November 2018 quote is in place and here are the changes to it, given that January 6th letter.
Okay.
Leslie, do we need an actual motion to discuss, or do you want us to just discuss, or what? I mean, are we voting on the, what do you want us to do?
Yeah,
here?
I think what we're doing is we will be making a recommendation to the board of our opinion on which one would be most responsive and the best choice. So
Is there a timeline on when we have to have this done? Should we give the other bids a little bit more time to come back to us, or is this it?
no, because we originally said, we want your reply by March 30th. And at that time, only one company responded and they said no. So at that point, we went back to them and we said, you know, please, if you're going to give us a bid, do it now. They've already had 2 chances.
I'm just wondering because we are in high peak of tax season and all, so maybe now they would be more responsive considering when we send it out, the proposal, they're probably in like the mid or high season of taxes. So I don't know if we have like a timeline where we have to do and get the bid in by the specific time. Because if we don't, then I don't know why we wouldn't give them a little bit more time to get more bids in.
We do. We normally have them out in the field by now. So
Okay.
in April, we usually are already starting field work. So we are a little bit behind because we had an auditor before that didn't quite meet our expectations. And so we are now, we're re-engaging a new auditor. And normally at this time, we would have someone out either preparing or doing field work already in order to have it completed by the August timeframe that we require it to be. And then there's only one firm that said they would respond to us. The rest of them have had over a month and gave us no response even when called again. There was one that kind of said, yeah, we'll respond. And we've even reached out to them again and still no response.
Okay.
And to me, that's a little bit of an indication of what working with them would be like.
Okay.
And but I think we have 2 really good responsive comparisons here.
Okay.
What do we know? Have we received a proposal from, was it CLA or
Clifton
Clifton
Allen.
Larson Allen.
what?
I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, the one that we have, Larson Gross, and the other one is CLA. Those are the 2 that I
Clifton
said
Larson
to you.
Allen.
So the Larson Allen, Joel, what do you know about them?
Well, Clifton Larson Allen is a national firm. They have offices all over the place for the most part. Larson Gross is a local firm. They're both, quite frankly, you have an option between 2 really good firms. CLA is really good experience with nonprofits and stuff as well. They actually audit quite a few nonprofits and homeowner associations. Larson Allen Gross, has audited this place and knows this place basically inside and out. So the prices between the 2 are Larson Allen or Larson Gross, I mean, is a little less than CLA. And Larson Gross is local. CLA is, nearest office is in Bellevue. But between the 2, I think you have 2 good firms willing to come in here.
Okay. And the other question that I had is, what do we know? I mean, we're all inventing this as we go, but what do we know about either one's ability to actually be here? And do we need them actually here, or is it mostly documentation that can get sent back and forth? I'm just trying to figure out with this COVID-19 issue, which is likely to have social distancing for a number more months. What does that mean as far as the audit is concerned?
I can tell you this, like I know that CLA, it's said that a lot of this work would, obviously have to be done remotely. They would plan to come here to do initial field work, but then most of it would probably be done remotely. Larson Gross is basically right here in town, so they could come in here. They'll probably end up doing stuff remotely too. Since they've been here so many times already, they actually could do it more remotely, more readily. It's to them, it's refreshing basically what they have on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wondered whether or not that's a consideration that we should make for this year. I mean, number one is, you know, are these folks gonna, these guys are based in Phoenix, is that correct?
They have an office in Bellevue, but they have offices pretty much all over the place. So they could have the potential, like for example, when I was in public accounting, you know, like I could be flown down to, you know, Arizona to audit a place. It's basically whoever has the expertise will be sent here.
Yeah. I
from an
get that. But the question is, you know, are we likely to have folks that they're going to be wanting to fly in, and is that going to be an issue? Because I know there's a lot of people that are not flying, and there's not a lot of flights flying right now. So the question is, how, you know, how do they do the boots on the ground thing? And we are, as Karen already pointed out, we are already starting a little bit late in the process. So I don't know, do we have any read from them on that? You know, what their feeling is at this point in time? And do we know when they wrote this? When was this proposal submitted? What was
it was just submitted literally like last week.
Yeah, this came in within the last week.
Okay.
So maybe it's best then we go with something local with the local company. That, I mean, that kind of will eliminate a lot of the issue about, you know, being able to do it social distantly. And it sounds like that's a company that we've dealt with before. Am I reading that one right? Because it says,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
3 years.
so they're already familiar with the HOA association and they're local. So if we do have any issues, it's easier for us to get the information or for them to get it versus trying to do everything, even though they have an office in Bellevue, you know, it might be the best option for now, like you say, maybe for this year. If not, do we have to sign a contract for all 3 years, or it's just the 1
In
year?
order to get the price break, we do. If with Larson Gross, if we go for just 1 year, it's about $1,000 more than if we sign 3 years in a row. But
What was
But
the
the
issue
CLA
before when they left us? Was there a reason why we went with another firm instead of keeping them? I mean, how long ago was it?
we had Larson Gross for several years, and it is just good practice every once in a while to change to another auditing firm, just for a different set of eyes to make sure that, you know, everything is being done correctly. And so we did choose a firm that was very familiar, we were told, with homeowners associations. And as it turned out, I don't think that they had worked with a lot of associations as large as we are, and they were not very responsive in providing us with information, with management letters and all sorts of things. And so, you know, after 1 year, we said we would, that they made mistakes in their numbers and things like that. It wasn't a good fit. So we're going to go back now, and we're going to find somebody that is a better fit for us.
Okay.
So the one thing that about CLA is they said that even if we did 1 year, their 1 year price was the same. So we don't, I mean, their 1 year price is their 1 year price.
Right.
So it didn't influence their second and third year price by us just doing a 1 year with them. So, but they are several $1,000s more per year, as I recall.
They are about $2,000 more.
Yeah.
Plus we could incur travel costs with them up to $2,000. So between $2,000 and $4,000 more, depending on what
Right.
those.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we didn't have problems with Larson Gross. I don't know, Joel, do you, Joel or Joe, either one, do you have any sense of a reason to not go with Larson Gross? I mean, I guess that would be a good question for us to.
I can't chime in on that because I've never used Larson Groves for accounting, so I'm at a loss for that one. But what I can tell you, we do not want to go through this every single year. So
Right.
my recommendation, and this is a strong recommendation, whoever you choose, you do it for 3 years.
Yeah.
Reassess, unless it happened like what we did with the firm we had last year that was really, really bad.
Unacceptable. Yeah.
Unacceptable work performance, then we get rid of them. But my recommendation is whoever you choose, either one, you do the 3-year deal, and then it's off the table for 3 years unless there's an issue.
Yeah.
I agree too, because it's gonna take them a while to get back in the, understanding what we do and all that stuff. And I'm sure things have changed since they last audited us too.
I would say if anybody, Larson Groves probably has got the most knowledge of us. So they would be able to jump right in, pretty much boots on the ground, very little hiccup. CLA would be a brand new company coming in, so there might be some more issues with that. But I've never worked with Larson Groves as an accounting firm. I know Joel has known them for a while and has worked with them in other places. So I would defer to him at that point.
In looking at these 2 quotes from these 2 different companies, did anybody see any red flags from either one of them?
No, I didn't.
No.
No.
No, and I'll just go ahead and state what, barring any reason, red flag or reason that anyone has for not using Larson Gross, they are cheaper, they are local, they are familiar with us. I would recommend hiring them for the 3-year term. That said, I haven't worked with them either, and I wasn't part of the process prior when they were our auditor, so I really don't have any, I'm not going into this really knowing anything about them or not, but just knowing what I've heard. And if there is no reason that we, there was no specific reason that we chose to not go with them last year, it was just like Leslie said, which makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you just switch your auditor every once in a while just because, just to, have a new set of eyes. That would be my recommendation, to go with them
Okay.
for the
Is that
3
a
years.
motion?
Sure, let's make an emotion.
Second.
Okay, any further
Jamie,
discussion?
that was Penny that seconded that. Lori, did you looked like you unmuted yourself and were ready to say something.
I was. When I was looking at the CLA one, it looked like they said if we had a problem with the price, that they would look into that too and
Okay.
maybe adjust that. So maybe if we went back to them and said, hey, you're a couple $1,000s more, would you be able to meet this? And then that way we would have, like Leslie said, a different set of eyes on it for like a 3-year period. They seemed like they had everything bulleted and put together. Maybe we would meet that requirement of having another set of eyes that looks like they're capable of doing it, and maybe they would adjust their pricing to match Larson.
Yeah, if my only reason right now was price, it's not. It's kind of like Penny said, and it's weird. This year is weird because it's this idea of, are they going to travel? Are they going to get up to speed quick enough? We're already starting late. There's this pandemic going on right now. If price was my only thing, I would agree with you that maybe, we just kind of go back to them and say, would you price match this? But in the situation that we're in now, and like Joel's right, I've worked for an accounting firm too. You might not have the experts on HOAs in Bellevue. They might be needing to fly people out from, that's what national accounting firms do all the time. I mean, and it's not even if the experts are there. It might be that this firm the Bellevue one is booked. And so they're just pulling people that aren't busy from Phoenix and Maryland. And I traveled all the time when I worked for an accounting firm. And so I'm a little bit concerned about that. They have this national pool of staffing that they'll use sometimes, and they might not have the staff even out of Bellevue to do it. And based on the time frame that I feel that we're in, where we just need to get this going, I don't have any reason to not feel comfortable with Larson Gross, but I don't think it's just a price thing. But I did see that too, and it gave me pause, and I thought, well, maybe we should think about this. But to me, there's more to it than just price at this weird time that we're in.
It is a very weird time, and we are kind of pressed for time too to get this done. So and it looks like they have some cleanup to do from the other company. So I agree with going back to Larson and having them do this. But maybe in the future we could look at CLA to kind of change it up to, like Leslie said, to have another set of eyes on it to make sure that everything's getting looked at. So I don't have a problem with going with Larson.
So is the motion then for 1 year or for 3 year? Because I
That's what
kind
I
of
was just
agree
about
with
to,
Joe that it should be for at least 3 years. So
that's what I was going to
can
ask
table this.
Karen. Karen, what was your motion? Was it to engage them for 1 or for 3 years?
My motion was for 3.
3, okay.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Okay. So
Anything
there you
else?
go.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor of Larson Gross, please raise your hand. Thank you. It's unanimous. Okay, moving on then to the discussion of the parameters for reforecasting with the strange times that we are going through. We made certain assumptions at the beginning of the year. We have a budget, budgeting a certain amount for different things. Things are changing, and one of the first things that we did was we waived the dues for April, which means that's revenue that we don't have coming in. But there are other things going on. We are not spending. We're not having revenue coming in, but we're not spending on certain things. And Joe, why don't you kind of give us an idea of what are some of the things that we are having to deal with that may change our forecasting for budgeting purposes?
Okay.
Well, basically at this point, sorry, Joe or Joel?
What I will give
Yeah.
you guys, I sit on countless number of hours of Zoom meetings with many officials. What I can tell you is all the county activities have been canceled all the way through the summer. I wouldn't be a bit surprised come May 4th that you see this extended, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised you see this go 90 days. The only thing we can hope for is that they do loosen up some of the restrictions, i.e., which would mean maybe we get the golf course open, maybe the gym open with limited amount of people. Probably the pools will not be open if we go 90 days. It is a free-flowing thing right now. I have had Joel do me a quick breakdown. If, let's say, we lose golf and all revenues on that, we're in a lot of discussions right now with the county, city, as well as DNR to get the marinas opened. So we are a player in that. So we're working on that. So I'm banking we're going to be able to have marina income. But I had Joel basically give me a linear average of golf. If we end up losing everything until September 1st, and then give me a linear average of 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19 of revenues, and the average of that is about $137,000. Average expenses are about 96 with a net of about 21. So that's what we're looking at right now with that. We are running skeleton crews right now. If this does go 90 days, there will be a lot of people furloughed. I don't have a choice financially. On the golf course, there's Brian is still working. Kevin is still working. They are actually mowing right now. Jake is mowing, and one other guy is working there as well as our mechanic, because I need that. The only division that is fully operational right now is the maintenance crew, because we're in the middle of Firewise, and that will convert over to Clean and Green in May, and then we'll convert over to CVC after that. So that crew will stay full tilt for the rest of the year, or through this time. So we are cutting expenses. I know Joel's got those numbers figured out a little bit better, but we're paring down. I mean, we are as thin as we can physically be right now, and with little to no expenses going out. I mean, everybody says, "Oh, the golf course." We are mowing very little, a little bit of chemical here and there, not like it would be if it was full tilt. So that's
Did,
where we stand.
Joe, did you say that Brian and Jacob are mowing?
Brian and Kevin and Jacob are all on machines, yes. And just so everybody knows, I am backup because I have done that for many, many years if they need an extra set of hands on a machine.
Awesome.
As well as if Bill gets into some trouble, I can go in and be a mechanic as well.
Wow. All right.
Okay,
Cross-training.
let me start with the pools. So basically, if the pools are completely shut down this year, we don't have revenue coming in from them except for special occasions anyway, and we will have no expenses aside from a general upkeep with the pool. So can we say that that is basically a wash?
Actually, with no one in the pool, Leslie, having owned a pool, with no one in it, I can pretty much keep that chlorine at a very low level. So there'll be very little chemical coming in. The biggest part would be at the close down to get her to run through the winter. But other than that, we'll have minimal amounts of chlorine going in with no one swimming. But if you look at the pool revenue, you're only looking at about 11, 12,000.
Right.
So not a big impact, but what you'll still have is the special assessment going to parks, trails, and all that. So there should be a surplus that will roll to next year as well with that.
Right. Okay. So without the pool, how about the beaches?
That's where we are trying to go with DNR. We don't own, DNR owns the water in the lake, and that will still be part of the social distancing aspect. So that's what we're trying to go in with the city. There are 4 launches on the lake. BoD is one, we're another one, and there's 2 at the south end. DNR has shut the 2 at the south completely off.
Okay.
BoD
I'm talking about the beaches, AM, PM beach, separate from the marina.
Oh, they're closed. They're closed right now.
And they will remain closed.
Due to social distancing, yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's the big thing. If we open them up, it's during the summer, it's going to be more than what they can handle as social distancing.
Right. Okay. I just want to make sure that.
How are you keeping them closed though? Are you putting barriers on
Oh,
it?
they're locked. You can't get into them. I mean, there's gates to them. They're all the parks, like the playground equipment, everything. That's all.
No, I know about that, but like there are people go on the
same thing.
beach.
Beaches will be the same thing. As far as the enforcement goes, what we're doing is we'll enforce as much as we can. What happens is we will turn it over to the people that are doing this, Department of Health. What I can tell you, I know for a fact that Skagit Country Club got shut down by the state attorney general because they decided to try to keep playing golf, and they got the phone call from the state attorney general to cease and desist.
Okay.
The state is not messing around. We will forward all that stuff right to the state and let the people deal with the state if you're caught, basically is what we're going to do. That's how it's going.
I think the number one is our message has got to be very clear.
Yeah, I mean, I had to shut down the campground because of social distancing. Not a popular decision, but it had to be done. There was people coming in.
So we may have something for the marina and we may not. This is still juggling in the air at this point. If the marina is shut down, there's no revenue, but there's no expense either.
Nope.
So that's a wash.
So part of the marina revenue that people pay for is storage, is the dry slip. So
dry slips will still be there because they are out of the water. Wet slips won't be used. So there'll be still revenue.
So you would basically, people that have a wet slip, I'm assuming you would prorate their rate and they would basically pay for, like people that had a combo would just maybe pay their dry slip.
And that's what we're going to be looking at as we're going. If they had just a wet slip, there's no way we can charge them if they can't put a boat in. Dry slip, dry storage is dry storage. I mean, that's a year-round thing and that's out of the water. So there will be fees with that.
Well, I would say there's maybe a little bit that they pay for that they assume they can launch from there. They get the card too, but yeah, it's a
the
weird.
access is shut down. I got the card reader shut.
No, I know that. I'm just saying that when people pay to store their boat at the marina, a port, I mean, we had this talk with the dock, is that part of that is you're assuming that you can launch it from there. But yeah, I get it. But some of that expense that we have for the marina is staff anyway. I mean, some of it's like overhead staff. So there would still be some expenses.
There'd still be some minimal stuff, but you wouldn't have the big overheads that you have if we were fully operational.
Oh yeah.
And you the only one that you'll have the pretty true overhead will be maintenance, because they will be public works. They'll still be going. Everybody else will be really thin. Admin, golf turf, rec. I mean, everybody else will be minimal crews, but CVC, Firewise, and all that will be full crew.
Is our full accounting staff still working remotely?
They are still working as well. They will be back because we'll still have accounts receivable, accounts payable, so that's all there. Davey is 3 or 4 days a week. Gil is still his normal 3-4 days a week. So, and then Joel, we keep Joel here 5 days a week. We don't let him disappear.
And we have Angie who's doing collections.
Angie's doing collections remotely.
Right.
Everything was done remotely on Angie.
How about RV storage
That
in
that's,
Area Z?
yeah, that's Area Z. That's the same. I mean, you can go in and out of that anytime you want. So there will be fees for that.
So we can expect revenue still to come in from RV storage.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question, Joel. So back to Karen's question, for those who do own a dry slip, they can't launch their boat if it's I don't know, the marina's closed for 90 days or something. Is that not something I'm misunderstanding or?
Well, our launches are closed.
Right.
But dry storage it's stored there as well during the winter. That's a year-round thing. So,
Okay, so I guess I was going back with what Karen said, is that some people who do own the dry slip launch off the boat, so they consider that kind of part of the dry slip fee. But now that it's not, then they're just storing it.
Yeah, but it's also a DNR decision. It's the same, like my kids are taking virtual karate and gymnastics right now. It's kind of, I mean, all DNR land is closed. We went looking for some trails to hike in Skagit County last week. All DNR land is closed. So, I mean, yes, it's kind of tricky because I do think, I mean, we have a slip down there too. And I assume like, yeah, we're going to be able to launch it. But then if a state agency comes in and says, no, you can't,
There are boats already on there now, or are they not?
they're probably
people,
homeowners.
If there's boats on the lake, okay, they are already put in at their houses at their own docks. We have nothing in wet slips right now.
Okay.
And we are not opening our gates for that to go out. There will be no boats launched from our marina until we have the okay from the city, the county, and DNR.
Okay.
Hey,
And that
Joe,
includes
just
the
for,
kayaking, the kayak launch?
yeah,
Nothing is going on the lake from Sudden Valley Marina until I have written proof from county, city, DNR.
Okay, because
and you are working.
I know.
Try to get,
I'm going with them around and around and around and around because I personally do not see that. I personally do not see why you can't fish. There are some things that we are that Sudden Valley. We finally have a seat at the table with the county and city and state.
I mean, that's totally social distancing if you're fishing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My husband is going to be really upset that he can't go fishing.
I fish. I'm a wild trout fisherman with a fly rod. And if someone comes to get me, they've done some work.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, given all of this information, is it appropriate to ask Joel to do a reforecasting based on all of this information that we have been talking about?
Yes.
And to bring it to the board meeting on, well, a week from Thursday to discuss?
Yes. I think we definitely need new numbers.
I know what I would really like to see, I mean, even if it's not a full reforecast, but what is the net impact of what is going on? So, if for April is going to be different because there's no dues revenue coming in, plus golf, plus, and then you take out all the expenses, what is the net difference there? And then going forward, there's a few different scenarios. There's, if this extends, if this ends in May, then May, and it's a slow rollout, I don't want to do like a million scenarios, but maybe we do, okay, here's our 90-day scenario and we've furloughed people. And maybe we do one, here's what we think if we did kind of the state did like a slow open and things like golf were maybe to come back a little bit, you know what I mean? Like we could do maybe some worst case, a couple of different scenarios where to me, I just need really high level stuff. Like what's the net? Like how much revenue are we losing and how much expenses are going down and,
I had Joel do one and it was really bad worst case scenario. So,
I would say, what if we did two scenarios, a 30-day and a 90-day?
Yes.
And then,
what do you mean by 30 and 90 day?
Well, that we're essentially closed until June, the beginning of June, right? And and then a 90-day would be
September 1.
Is that 90 days or is that
July, August?
I do Labor Day, whatever September is.
September 1.
Yeah, July, August, June, July, and August. But that's 4 months.
We're halfway through April right now. Nothing's going to happen until May 4th anyways.
May, June, July, August is 4 months.
Yeah, September 1, I think, is the date they're talking about. And that is 4 months.
Okay, so what I was talking about was essentially June 1 and then September 1. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because that's not a net. So Joe, just be careful about the 90 days. So unless there's something that says we're definitely going to extend for 30 days. The question is, are we going to extend for another 90 beyond that? That's different language than talking about 90 days now.
Penny, it's a very fluid thing right now.
I think we're looking at the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. Well, it may even be worse than the worst case, but that's what we've got to work with right now.
So does June 1st and September 1st make sense, or does it?
I think, Joel, that would be a question. Joel, do you think that's an unrealistic number? June and.
Well, I mean, those types of scenarios are actually not too hard to come up with. It's just basically, at this point, the things that we can do are how much revenue have we taken in, what do we have in expenses, and then forecasting out, Doji, what it'll look like if we don't have any revenues during these time periods that you're talking about. The other wild card will be the dues collection rate. And of course, now that, at this point, since we're not taking dues in during April, we're not even going to know what that'll really look like until June, actually. Once we have a full month of May's worth of dues or collection rates to look at. So then the next question would be, with this, it'd be pragmatic to build in some sort of a collection rate forecast.
Yeah. Joel, do you have a sense of what March was yet? March collection rate?
It's on the report. No, that's February. Never mind.
February. Yeah, I was just curious if you had just a sense. It doesn't have to be exact, but.
Well, I can tell you, I mean, like the bad debt reserve or the bad debt reserve journal entry has not been prepared for March, and that's what I really need to know what the collection rate is. But I can tell you for February, the collection rate is 90.6%. That means total year-to-date collection rate. So it's pulling back in line with pretty much essentially what it was last year.
Okay.
So far.
I think March would be a really good number to have maybe for our next board meeting.
Oh yeah, you'll have a collection rate by that time.
Yeah, the March collection rate, and I think shouldn't we be able to have a pretty good idea of what April is going to look like, revenue and expenses? Just the net at this point, we know who's working and who's not. We know we're not spending anything extra. So
Well,
we have,
April's going to be, for the most part, pretty easy since
yeah,
technically we're not expecting any dues now. Actually, people are still probably out of habit, still paying their dues. Some people, for April, but April's basically slotted right now as no collections coming in.
yeah. Yeah, I think that would be, so the collection rate for March, so we have just kind of a sense of how it was trending. April,
I'll know what that is by the board
Okay.
meeting.
April, a good idea of where we think we'll net there. Basically, I'm looking at that to see if we have any indications of cash flow issues cropping up yet. And then the 30 and 90-day forecasts, like Penny talked about, if this were to be lifted June 1st versus if it were to be lifted, did we say September 1st? What did we say? August 1st? I don't know.
September 1st.
Yeah.
September 1st. Okay. Yeah, those pieces of information. And then really, I think it's going to be important to really understand the assumptions that are going into that, because probably most of us looking at it aren't going to be able to think of all of the things that you guys know are being impacted right now. So being able to kind of
Yeah.
list that out, so we have an idea of what it is, that's just so we know.
Yeah. I mean, because at this point, basically, it's going to come down to non-dues operational revenues will be gone if we're totally closed, which is what we are for the most part. And the expenses, we'll know, we'll have a projection of expenses. And April, of course, we're not going to take any dues in whatsoever, technically. So, so those types of forecasts are actually they're not a big deal to come up with. It'll be more interesting actually in June when we really start to see how the collection rate is really getting affected.
Yep.
From May.
Yeah. And that's what's going to be super tough, is because then we're going to have to use those numbers to start budgeting for next year.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
And we'll still be right in the middle.
My staff got the other day, mailed out to them, emailed to start for 2021.
Brian, you had a question?
Yeah. Okay. Forgive me if any of these questions are kind of just newbie hat, but on their Ken's Cozy Kitchen on the operation, what exactly is that?
Are you talking about revenue or expenses?
Talking about the expense operation on the statement. It says net UDR activity for operations and has Ken's Cozy Kitchen.
He's just talking about the check that we cut to Ken for that Cozy Kitchen contract.
Yeah, that's what so is that, I'm not familiar with what that is.
Ken's Cozy,
Joe, go ahead. Yeah.
Ken's Cozy Kitchen is the small little concession in the fitness, or in Barn 8.
Yeah.
The Sun Valley subsidizes Ken a little bit to help him out. So that's what you see. That's voted on a board level.
So that's every month.
What's the work he does? What work does he do to get the check?
He runs all the food and beverage out of that area, and his proceeds go to a children's
school. Yeah.
Yeah,
charity. Yeah.
African school. But since we are not operating as far as the summer and all that, because I think majority of his revenue is through the community center, right?
Yes. So he is shut down as well. Everything is shut down. But he could open and do takeout if he wants. That's up to him, strictly up to him.
But that check we're still cutting out every month.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That was voted on the board. The board can
Wait a second. Hold on. Even if he's shut down and not doing work,
what I was wondering.
still, I mean, this is for February. What you're looking at is February. So this is before there were any shutdowns. But are you saying that if the whole community center is shut down, we will still continue to pay for?
It would be a board decision.
All right.
Because you guys voted on that, not me.
Well, yeah, but we voted on, I didn't vote on
it. It would be a board decision to see if you guys want to keep it going.
No, I just mean while we're shut down, that's a different scenario than what was voted on.
So would we have to put a motion to the board to maybe review that during the shutdown? Because that's $4,000. I mean, 35, whatever. If we're
It's not
cutting
that
down
much amount.
It's
expenses.
not that much. It's $14,000 for a year.
Oh,
For the whole year. 14 grand for the entire year is what Ken gets. 14.4.
so why does February show 3,564?
Bill, I don't hear you.
Probably just timing.
Am I just not reading that right?
It's possible they paid one check for 2 months, plus I think so from what I recall, I wasn't on the board when we voted for this, but when I recall is that they do some work, some of the cleaning of the towels and some of the stuff for the gym. That's the reason for the payment to them. Plus, I think he provides some beverages and stuff for the board meetings. And so I'm guessing we cut one check to him. And that's, I don't know, you'd have to look at the GL detail, but that would be my guess, is that it was for multiple time periods that hit in February.
The
As-
only amount that goes down here in UDR is that amount that the board agreed to. So those other checks for like refreshments and things like that would show up in operation. So it's basically, we pay him around $11.50 or so per month. So like he ended up giving us a couple invoices later than normal. That's the only reason why it's 3,000 something in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, basically, I think that we have finished with the reforecasting topic, and we are moving into the financial statements. Is that?
Sorry, I probably jumped this.
It's okay, it's all right. Okay, if there's nothing more about reforecasting, we have determined that we do want Joel to do some reforecasting going for 30 days and for the 90 days or until September 1st. Moving into financial statements now, the February 2020 statement, the top level is attached to your packet and the rest of the information is online. Joel, you want to start going over what we've got for the statement?
Can I just say one thing? I was sorry, I was trying to get unmuted and.
Yeah.
Regarding the forecasting, I would appreciate that being sent to us on the finance committee if it's going to be presented to the board, not just buried somewhere in the board packet. I would like to see that ourselves on the finance committee.
Okay,
We can do that.
we will do that.
That's not a hard thing.
Thank you.
Okay, Joel, go ahead with the February finances.
Okay. Let me just need to make sure I'm on the same page that you guys are looking at. So I'll just for the heck of it, I'll start off with the balance sheet on page 5 of your packet here. Basically, in February 2019, the change in net operating assets was about 8,000, and as of February 29, 2020, the change was closer to 54,000. So that's good. It's an increase of your current assets and decrease of current liabilities doing that. I think we'll just go ahead and go right into the income statement, which is, for you will be page 6. So basically what I'm going to be looking at is the third column from the right, that operating reserves column right there. And I'm just going to talk about it from a February 29, 2020 year-to-date, 2 months year-to-date standpoint. So the collection rate went up to 90.6% from like 86.5% in January. January is typically the lowest historical month for collection rate. So it's picked up just fine. So it's pulling in line with what it was last year before this COVID-19 stuff really started hitting. Down below, like in terms of the net income loss, like so actually we look better than last year. So our net income loss 73,200, or net income 73,232. Last year at this time we were 42,184. our expense to revenue ratio, which I've been talking about lately. Now in January, the expense to revenue ratio was worse than it was the year before. Now it's actually better, and that's really because if you remember last year, or not this past January, but the January or the February before that, that's when you guys got the bad snowstorms, and then this past year it happened in January. So that's kind of what caused January to look worse this year than last year, and vice versa. So now the expense to revenue ratio is improved to 88%. So that is just the ratio of your total expenses divided by your total revenue. So basically that just means for every 88 cents in expenses, you take in $1 in revenue. So the higher that number is, the better. The prior year is 93%. So that means for every dollar of revenue, you had 93 cents of expenses, which is worse.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, that's going to be changing with this whole kind of change with this pandemic stuff going on.
So was that 88% or whatever, was that a year-to-date number, or that was for the month?
That's year to date.
Okay.
So that's, yeah, 2 months worth right there.
Okay. And so both years included a snowstorm. So they're fairly comparable.
That's right.
Different
Yes.
months, yeah,
Both,
right.
both years included a snowstorm. One just happened in January, the other one February. So in spite of the snowstorms between the 2 years, we are still better than last year at this time. Because
Okay.
last year at this time included the snowstorm too.
Mhm.
Now, of course, there's a chance that some snow expenses, invoices and stuff like that could have snuck in, like after the fact, but like into March or something, but it's pretty much doubtful.
Mhm.
Now we'll turn to the next page. So it'll be page 7 for you. And I'm talking about the capital reserve funds here. And so basically this is just all this is showing you is just your beginning cash accounts, the top line, and then second from the or net usable cash balance 12/31/2020. Then it's basically forecasting to you how much cash that we believe that you'll have left at the end of the year. Now I've included a tick mark on here. This outlook. Okay, if you look at the far left column, and then the second basically group of numbers, you see that 940,365.
Mhm.
That line is giving you basically what that's doing is projecting to you how much will we take in dues, for the rest of the year. Now I've already built into this with this note down below. You'll see that I built into the fact that I've already counted for that we're not going to take in April dues. So this is giving you, it's a 10-month projection of dues coming in, but it only includes 9 months of dues since April we're not taking any dues. So this is a more conservative number at this point. But the good thing is, even though it is a more conservative number, the cash increase, basically the bottom line numbers have still improved over the last year. Of course, now a lot of that is due to the fact that we just haven't been spending as much on capital at this point.
So can you include, you and Joe, can you guys include what you think capital will be if we, on this 30-day and 90-day, or the June 1st, September 1st forecast, can we see what that does to capital as well? Because I'm presuming that you're going to have less spending.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just going to come down to how many capital projects we think would be put in place. Now, if we really scale those back, we won't have capital spending. So we'll just have capital money coming in from dues. So then that would totally rely on what we thought the collection rate would be going forward.
What are our approved projects right now? So we have CVC and the Marina dock, and I think we have another portion of the golf, the irrigation. Like what's approved but not spent?
You have, right now, I know right off the top of my head, you have all of the crossover culverts, which may not get done.
Okay.
Windward Drive retaining wall might not get done.
Yeah, security cameras, trim mower, utility vehicles,
They
that dock.
The equipment I believe was already purchased. Cameras would be already purchased. But the big construction projects, the other thing we really had that we were looking at would be the drainage, the windward, I believe the tennis courts were in there to resurface.
Yeah, but they hadn't been approved yet. I guess I'm just
No,
wondering
that's right.
what has the board already approved that we could even,
You
that
haven't,
could go
you
forward?
haven't approved anything. The stuff that has been approved has been already purchased. So the construction projects would be approved as they came up.
Well, we haven't, I mean, we've approved the marina dock, but we haven't
We
spent
have,
anything.
that would be the only thing. But what you have on the docket to be done this year would be your crossover culverts, windward retaining wall.
What
What
about,
about,
And now I can tell you this, Karen, like all the stuff that you guys approved in January,
Mhm.
so obligated, you have about like 161,000, you know, that could go out, meaning in terms of that we could still pay out on invoices since it's approved.
okay. I'm just looking at it from like, if we get in a point where we need to like conserve cash or, you know, whatever. But what about the
Yeah.
marine, the golf course irrigation? Is there more work to be done on that, or is it done and invoiced?
It's done. It has not been invoiced yet.
Okay.
That, other
Some
work,
of it has, not all of it. Some of it I've seen checks go through.
that work is completed.
So it was a 2-year project. So it's done, and we just split it over.
We split it over 2 years so we could, it would be better on the cash flow standpoint of capital.
Okay. So irrigation is done, not invoiced.
Correct.
Thanks.
And Karen, to another thing on that cash spread, or on that cash page 7 of your packet.
Yeah.
So now I'm working up from the bottom. Do you see that line that says it's unbolded? It says obligated expenses.
I do. Yeah.
So basically what that means is if we paid every single invoice that we're on the hook for, you know, that we could be on the hook for, that's how much we would pay out.
Okay.
That's what that line is taking into account.
Okay.
How
So it
much
looks
we
like-
haven't paid out yet of approved projects.
Got it. Okay.
What's
thank you.
interesting to me is also on the right-hand side, the operating reserve funds. And that's one of the things that we looked at when the board voted to waive the dues for April. Knowing that we do have an emergency operating capital fund here, where if everything goes south, there's $350,000 plus in there that we could draw on. And then there's also.
And there is that CD that Linda Bradley, I have to give her credit, she pointed that
what
out
was
last
that? Was
time.
it 100 out of that?
Yeah. It's approximately around 100, 150 in that range.
Yeah, okay. But there is also UDR. And if you're not familiar with that, it stands for undesignated reserve. And those are the funds that come in when we do collections from previous years. Like if we were to make collect dues from somebody who owed from last year, from 2019 or 18, we first of all take what needs to go into the capital funds, and then everything else goes into undesignated reserve. And this is cash that the board can vote to use for whatever they need it for. It can be operations or capital or whatever they want. But there is, it looks like $260,000 in that. So at the present time, we're not in trouble. We do have some cash that we can use if we need it.
If you look at that, you have about $609,000 in both emergency ops and UDR, minus $100,000.
Minus that CD for
So you get about
the payroll.
about $500,000 of cash.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Okay. So we could just, the rest is here real quick. We'll just turn the page to, for you, it's going to be page 8. This is all this page is, it's basically a total repeat of the income statement that we looked at 2 pages prior. But this is now broken down on the peer department level, operational department level. So you can see like the different departments, like accounting, administrative, common cost, facilities, maintenance, golf, marina, so on and so forth. The good thing with golf, like if we look at, I always talk about golf since that's the biggest revenue center outside of dues, quite frankly. But the revenue for golf for February was close to 40,000. It was about 25,000 the year before, so that's improving. Golf is pretty much always improving. The net income is somewhat close to last year. It's about $31,000 negative, which is what we would expect at this time of the year. Last year is around $34,000 negative. If you turn the very next page over, you can see this exact same page now only on a year-to-date basis. So now you're seeing the entire 2 months in one point. So now we're actually seeing a repeat of that exact same column that we were talking about on the income statement, just now broken down by department. And if we look at golf again for actual revenue, so golf had close to 198,420, close to 200,000. The year before that, they had about 171,491. So that's an increase of close to $27,000. The net income through February for golf was close to 96,000. Last year at this time, at the end of February, was approximately 71,000. Now, in terms of like maintenance, like I'm looking at the far right column, net better, worse, basically to budget. Maintenance is dragging by about 62,387. That's basically all weather related due to that snow, and that's what happened last year this time as well.
Okay. I was wondering about that. Thanks.
Yeah.
One of the
And
comments, I'm sorry
go
that
ahead.
Tony Luzeo is not here because he was asking last month about the variances and asking to have the reason for the variance put next to each one of these, say, the marina, okay?
Like next to maintenance.
And actually, what we determined is that if he goes to the full report for the for
Online.
yeah, if he looks at the marina, which is on pages 22 and 23, you will see line by line all of the different expenses and things, and so you could see right there where all these variances come from. There, it's already there. It doesn't require someone to put comments.
And that's actually what I do too. When I see like variances, I just go right to the actual department specific income statement to see where are the differences.
And that's online, you said?
Oh yeah, that's online. Yes.
Under where?
It's on if you go to like the Sun Valley website, and then on the left, you know how you'll see those radio buttons. It's the purple committee button. You click that, and then it'll bring you to the list of committees, and you just click the finance committee. And then if you scroll down the page, you can click on any month's financial statements or the audited financial statements or the tax returns or whatever.
Okay.
And if you look at your agenda for tonight's meeting, you will see down towards the bottom the single asterisk. It says February 2020 full financial statement is available at, and it shows you the URL where you can go to get February.
Okay.
Yeah, and in that you could scroll. It's about 32 pages long, but each department is not very long. So like the maintenance department is only 2 pages, and the golf turf is combined into one. That's about 2 pages. So it's like you can see precisely what areas caused a variance.
So,
and then that variance will tie to that page that we were just on.
Any?
Yeah, so Tony's request, it's one thing to actually know what the dollars and cents say on a sheet like that in the detail, but it doesn't give an explanation if there is an overage in any one of those areas as to why. And I would interpret a request from Tony to be more about the why as opposed to just the actual detail, dollars and cents.
Okay, this is what I can say. Like in the past, like for example, like a couple of people have asked questions about the financial statements, and to me, like with the way that the question was phrased, it kind of let me know that they probably didn't understand the mechanics of the statements, meaning like the fact that the information could be found very easily if they just turn to those pages.
Okay.
Because otherwise, basically at that point, all we're doing is just restating exactly what can be found like in the financial statements.
Okay.
Yeah. I agree with that. I don't think we need to restate it, and I think that we have plenty of detail. I don't think that we need to do that, but I agree with Penny that we don't see the why, and a lot of times this is a timing thing. This was weather. Some of those, there are those very simple statements that these, and I don't mean everything. I mean just the big, when you look at the whole consolidated all together, you have these numbers that pop out. I circle them every time. Maintenance, circled it, you know, and I just need that one liner. This was because of the snowstorm. The end, you know, because even if I looked at the detail, I wouldn't know, well, why is maintenance up? Because I forgot, oh yeah, snowstorm, you know, and I think just these, it's not a lot of comments, but if we had just a few of these, you know, just,
Actually,
we know there's a time difference or whatever.
in this situation, especially for the snow thing, if you went to the maintenance page, you would see that the GL line item was entitled weather response, triggering like, you know, like the bulk of this kind of difference.
Okay, I still think having the why on a higher level thing, because to be quite frank, I don't know that, I mean, I like to look at the details, but I don't know that everybody needs to be going into the details all the time. So if we just had a couple of comments, well, I'm not requesting it. I'm just saying, to me, that would be helpful to have it on the consolidated sheet. Just those very high level things, those big stories that we know, and just for messaging purposes, just for communication.
I agree.
Maybe like a little asterisk in below it where you use the little page, you can just write down those notes, I guess.
Yeah, those asterisks probably won't fit on these exact pages because the pages are already so full as they are.
Yeah.
That's
It's
what
just, you know, it's you know, it's kind of one of those things that these financial statements are already 32 pages long. You know, there's a tremendous amount of detail in these statements. So it's like, if you see a variance on a line item, you could literally turn right to the department and you could see literally GL line items breakdowns of what's triggering those types of variances.
Got it. I just find it a real pain in the butt to have to go into detail. Frankly,
I mean, okay, I guess this is.
I personally, I do not like going to our website. I think it's very hard to get to our website. And the URL on the PDF doesn't really help me very much. So I'm more in the give me the highlights, because I don't want to go after all of that stuff. Either that or give me all of the detail in our reports. One or the other, so that I can do it and it makes it easy. And that's being selfish on my part, but I'm being totally honest on that.
Oh, sure. And like, for example, like Penny, I agree with you from the standpoint that I think it'd probably be helpful if the whole report was in the packet. Because like when we talk about the financials, like I'm constantly flipping into those actual pages, like as we like in real time when someone, hey, what's going on with this? And like I'll go right to the department page and see, oh, okay, that's where that.
Well, we always used to get that. So I think somewhere along the line it was like, well, let's not print all of these pages and so forth. And it's, you know, it's kind of a cost savings thing, and I respect that. But especially when we're doing PDFs, you know, I think it would be really easy to just, I mean, I'm sitting here with one screen looking at the agenda and looking at all the email as I'm using my laptop for the meeting. So that for me is like that. I don't want to open another page in another document to have to go into the detail, because now I've already got, you know, all of the detail for all of the attachments and everything pulled up so that I can look at them really quickly. Efficiency wise, it just doesn't work. So I would just as soon, as you said, Joel, have everything in the packet, especially for the PDFs.
So basically what you're saying is you're not asking for a printout because you don't use the printout. You look at it on the screen. So it's not wasting money.
Right.
Just put it on there.
And frankly, I think, you know, there are people in the community that look at this stuff, and it's like, if we can make it easier for them to understand this and
Find
not have to go into the detail and do some hard things for summaries, I think that is in support of being transparent with the, you know, the information for the people in the community. So I think it serves two purposes.
But on a positive note, if you look at this coming out of February, excluding UDR, we're 69, almost 70,000 to the good. So seeing how March goes, there will be most likely a small surplus of that going forward. Well, we'll end up using it for it, but we do have some positive cash in operations.
Are we keeping our eyes on the overages so that we don't get to the place where we were last year?
Yep.
Okay.
And another good thing too is since we're not charging anyone dues in the accounting system for April. Now, since we still have some people that come in and pay the dues, I can guarantee you the collection rate for April will be over 100% this time around.
Yes, because there are people who will have sent their dues in,
Yeah.
even though they're not supposed to. Okay.
I have heard that there were people coming in and even being told in person, like, hey, these aren't due. You don't have to pay them. They're like, I don't care. Still paying it.
Oh yeah.
Karen, that's true. I mean, we've taken a ton of payments for April, and they go, just here. So we're still have people doing that, but that's a nice thing.
Yeah.
And another thing I'll say again too. I'll just repeat it because I get asked this question a lot. Just so people who listen to this know that if someone ends up paying their April dues, now the accounting system is, you know, we've shut off billing anyone for April. So if someone pays their April dues, it'll post to their account and it will sit as a credit. So then May, it would just end up being applied to the May dues. So it's not lost. It's just on there as a credit.
So unrelated to this, but we got a little bit talking about the detail and the packets and whatever. And I would, as a cost savings, whatever, I am happy to continue this precedent we've set of we will print by request. I'm happy to continue that going rather than just automatically printing large packets for all of us, whether it's board or finance. I guess I can't speak for anybody but myself, but it seems to be no issue at all, you know, to just, it's actually easier to just print it rather than go in. And so,
Karen, I think it's about time and a good time that we start looking at iPads.
I can't look at a screen. I need a piece of paper in front of me.
Yeah.
That's why I asked Lisa to print it out for me for the meeting, because I was looking at the screen, and now that I'm screening, looking at you, and then looking at the screen, I just need to write down.
I was the same way, and I'm the same way. I'm old school pen and paper, but I'm finding more and more screen is a little bit better.
personally, I print out certain pages. I won't print out the whole packet, but I'll print out certain things. Like I didn't print out that whole proposal or whatever, but certain things that I want to reference, and that works pretty well for me. But anyway.
Joel, you got anything else for us?
No, that concludes the statements.
Anybody have any more questions on the financials or anything that you want to know?
Not on the financials, but just in general. I had been real worried about golf being closed, Joe, but it sounds like the way that we're operating is, even though we're not taking in revenue, our crew, we have such a skeleton crew that it is not terrible from a financial perspective.
Yeah, not terrible. I mean, we've got some guys furloughed already.
Yeah.
And
We do have a bunch of people who have paid their annual fee back in January.
Yeah.
And we're running on that.
That'll be an issue we'll have to work out going forward. But crew-wise, yeah, we've furloughed some guys both on golf and turf. So we're about as thin as you're going to be able to see. The good thing is there's a lot of things that we can do. If this does go forward, we can slow stuff down a little bit. not always a good recommendation to go a long period of time doing that, but short term, I think we could be okay doing it. But, you know, Mother Nature has to cooperate some, and the other thing is we gotta get the governor to see if social distancing on a golf course he could lift, because we're one of the only states that doesn't have golf right now.
Oh, really?
Oregon is running golf right now. Idaho's running golf. Most of the southeast part of the country is running golf. Pretty much the northeast is shut, but there's a spattering throughout the Midwest and stuff that are still running. So
But
What
we're
are
one
Aaron-
of the few states that have the highest, though. They
yeah,
I assume ours is going to be a little different.
yeah. New York was running golf for quite a while until about a week ago. They were off and on and off and on. Pennsylvania's been down. I know Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, all those are down. But the Southeast, I know Carolinas are still going. Florida, I think, is still going. Georgia's still going. Mississippi, Alabama.
What
There's-
about,
It's still snowing in Illinois, so it's not going on.
what about Arizona and California?
California's down. I haven't heard anything on Arizona yet. I don't have any friends in Arizona, so
Oh, I do. I'll ask my sister and I'll let you know.
yeah, because I don't have any friends in the golf business in Arizona. But
We have a lot of snowbirds down there, and they are playing.
okay,
they are?
Arizona's running. So
Yeah.
it's weird because some states are and some states aren't. I don't know. I don't get it, but
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If there's no more questions about finances, we'll move on to member questions and comments. We have here one person who's watching. Is there a question?
Yeah, it looks like she's got her hand up here. I'll go ahead and bring her in.
Okay. Nancy?
Uh-oh. Sorry, Nancy. We've got a little bit of a bad connection. Can I have you reconnect real quick? I'm going to try this one more time here.
Okay.
How about now? Let's try it again, Nancy. No, it's sort of doing that thing that it did the very first time we tried this. Can you,
John? Can she
not from my end. I think, Nancy, if you try leaving the meeting and then coming back, I can bring you right back in.
Joel, if you understand, or John, if you understand her, can you relay her question to us?
We can try it by text too, Nancy.
Okay.
John, can she chat in? Does she have the ability to chat?
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe type in the
Type
question.
the question in. And everybody, can you guys see it? Because I can. Nancy says, "Hi, does this work?"
Yep.
Yes.
Definitely.
We'll just wait for Nancy.
She texting.
Oh, there we go. How does the Finance Committee interface with the Long Range Planning Committee? Both are in the business of future planning for projects.
Not exactly. The Finance Committee deals with the day-to-day operations of the community, and the long-range planning is looking at planning out 5-10 years from now. Anybody else?
I was just gonna say, I agree with that. We're kind of looking at most to the next year, like during budgeting. But long range, when I was on long range planning, we weren't even looking at anything within the next 3 years. It was all beyond that, much higher level strategic stuff.
She's responded that the budget, your budget goes out 5+ years.
The budget itself doesn't go out 5+ years. I think what you may be thinking about is the reserve study, which does go out like 30 years, and we do look at it for the next 5 years and creating a budget for the next year. But we are not making any budgets for more than 1 year. For one reason, the next board, if we were to do that, could change it, the whole thing. So Finance Committee and the board only makes a budget for 1 year ahead.
I've just asked if there's any other questions in the chat. Nancy is asking, so when do permits go out?
Permits?
Permits for what?
It depends on the project.
Yeah, it would depend. It would go by project, depending on what it would be.
SEPA County? Not sure if.
That is a county permit for crossover culverts, and that is project by project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. And if there's nothing else for the good of the order, let's adjourn this meeting at 8:03. Thank you, people.
Thank you. Have a great. If anybody needs anything,
you.
reach out. Be safe.